Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. My name is Thomas Bailey. Alongside me, Alex Miley and Caleb Babula. As we get set to go for another episode of the show, we're ready to go. We're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, the fight that obviously happened between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, and a couple other things with the NBA as well as the NFL as a whole. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it as we get set to begin. Alex, the Buffalo Bills take down the Kansas City Chiefs in a 30-21 win at home. First time beating Mahomes at home, whether that be playoffs or regular season. What do you think about the game, and what can you really tell us about the good side of Buffalo in this one?
I mean, the good side starts with Superman himself, Josh Allen. He put on the cape. What an amazing performance. In my opinion, I would say this is his second best game of the season.
The Chiefs have one of the best defenses in the league, and he had over 300 yards of total offense. He was our leading rusher. He was really our only efficient rusher. We could not get any ground game going. It was constantly 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. And Josh would find ways to just get the first down, either through the air with – he started off the game with that beautiful throw to Amari Cooper, beautiful catch by Cooper there, or he'd run, or he'd find Shakir in those crossers. He was just cooking the entire game. Yeah, he had the interception, but I blame that more on Dawson Knox because he should have kept running up the field, which is what Josh expected. Instead, he decided to sit down next to the defender, which was not smart. So the interception, not really his fault, but he had 2 touchdowns, over 300 yards, and he could have had more touchdowns if it wasn't for James Cook rushing touchdowns that he kind of vultured from him. And then defensively, I would say Terrell Bernard was the star of the game, and the NFL realized that as they named him AFC Defensive Player of the Week. So congratulations to him. He had a sack. He had the game-sealing pick. Overall, great game by him, and just great game by the defense in general to slow down this Chiefs offense.
Yeah, there were a lot of great things about this Buffalo Bills win. However, there are a couple minor inconveniences for this Bills team en route to the big Chiefs win. Caleb, can you tell us more about those issues and how to fix them going forward?
I think the main issue right now is just health. You need to be healthy, not having Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Spencer Brown, and a lot of that is solved by the bye week that we have coming up. Other than that, it's still the run defense. They're giving up way too much on the run. Kareem Hunt was really dicing up the Bills' defense. Luckily, they just stopped running the football. Who knows why? It was one of the stupidest decisions I've seen all year in the NFL. But, yeah, we just need to continue to get better against the run. It was better than usual, better than I thought we do against the Chiefs with the run defense, but there needs to be continuous improvement in that regard.
Yeah, this is a big win for the Buffalo Bills. It brings them just one game behind the Kansas City Chiefs for the first overall spot in this year's playoff in the AFC bracket. What do you think ends up shaking up for the rest of the year? Do you think the Bills jump them for that 1 seed, or do the Chiefs remain strong and hold on to that spot? Alex, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I may be just very optimistic and just trying to manifest this. But as I said yesterday, I think the Bills do get the 1 seed because the only game I have us losing the rest of the season is to the Detroit Lions. And with the way the Chiefs have been playing, everyone's saying, oh, their schedule is so easy. Not really. They only have 2 easy wins against the Panthers and against the Giants. Or I think it's the Browns. I forgot. But besides that, they have the Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Steelers. All of those teams are currently in playoff spots. 2 of them being divisional matchups, which are always close games. And then the Steelers just beat the Ravens. They look like a legitimate team. And the Texans, even though they've been inconsistent and struggling, C.J. Stroud with Nico Collins and Joe Mixon and that pass rush, they can really match up with anyone. So it's not like the Chiefs have an easy schedule here on out. And the Bills are looking their best right now, coming off a bye, and they're getting healthy right at the right time. I expect them to go on a run and not really lose much the rest of the season. And I think they're going to be able to overtake the Chiefs and get the 1 seed at 14-3.
Yeah, Caleb, what about you, man?
I think they want to play this the hard way. They're going to purposely miss the 1st seed, and then I'm joking. I think they're going to get the 1st seed. I have a lot of faith in the team. I think they're playing the best football of our lifetime, specifically all of us 3. And when it just comes down to it, the defensive line has not been great, but it's playing better. The secondary has been absolutely outstanding outside of DeMar Hamlin having some, iffy games. Offensive line looks elite. Running backs look really good. Tight ends look good. Wide receivers look good. And then you have the MVP of the NFL and Josh Allen. To me, that sounds like a 1 seed. I don't know about you guys. I have a ton of faith in them.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned the bye week earlier as we kind of shift segments here. Week number 12 is upcoming here. Buffalo does not play. There are a couple big games. The Chargers and the Ravens are playing on Monday Night Football. We'll get to that in the NFL segment, I'm sure. But realistically here, week 12 is a big week for the Bills, especially in the health department. What can you guys do to elaborate on that? I'll start with you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, we just have a lot of
Injuries, but players nearing like the end of like their timeline for the injury, they should be returning. I fully expect Spencer Brown will most definitely be back. I bet you if it was a playoff game, he plays against the Chiefs. He was limited in practice on Friday, which means 2 full weeks of practice, he'll be good to go. Keon, I'm not sure about since he hasn't been able to practice, but you give him 2 weeks. They didn't put him on IR for a reason, which means they think he'll be back in under 4 weeks, which would put him right in line for the Niners game. Same thing with Dalton Kincaid as he wasn't put on IR, so they probably expect that to only be a 2 or 3 week thing. So his kind of up in the air. I think he will end up playing, but maybe he might be the one that misses. And then defensively, Matt Milano is going to be back. They opened up his 21-day practice window, which basically lines him up perfect for this 49ers game. And when Matt Milano is healthy on this team, he is the best defender, second best player on this team. He is an all-pro. He's already proven it. He won it 2 years ago, would have won it last year, or would have made it if he wasn't injured. Like, he is one of, in my opinion, second or third best off-ball linebacker in the game. He really transcends this defense. And then someone who we really haven't talked about in a couple weeks due to being put on IR, Dwayne Carter, he should be back because when he was put on IR, it was thought it was like a 4-week timetable, which brings him right in time for the Niners game. And before that, he was our best defensive tackle. He was absolutely blowing things up in the run game and doing a great job. So I'm excited to see all these guys come back and this Bills team finally be healthy for basically the first time all season. And they're 9-2 with all these injuries when they should be healthy. I think it elevates their team even that much more.
Yeah, Caleb, what about you, man?
I'm just excited to see everybody shifting back into their natural positions. Dorian Williams being your third linebacker, Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins being your wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 5. Getting more rotation in with that defensive line, especially the defensive tackle spots, something I'm excited for. But just shifting everybody back into the position they're supposed to be. I think it helps everybody out. On the surface, obviously, you just get more talented guys back in there. But like Dorian Williams, just being able to do a lot more on rundowns instead of having to do pass downs, you're going to see better play from guys like him as well. So I'm just really excited to see everybody get back and going. Hopefully in the next, I'd say 3 weeks, everybody should be back outside of probably Dwayne Smoot.
Yeah, of course. Knock on wood. Hopefully the Bills can stay healthy over the course of these next couple weeks, obviously. But more than anything, we're just trying to really gear up for this 49ers game that's coming in Week 13. We'll get to that eventually. However, the big deal is with this Buffalo Bills team, they're finally getting their bye week a little bit later than as normal for these Buffalo Bills. But at the end of the day, they do the job, and they have done it a very well, respectable 9-2 this season. And that will conclude our Buffalo Bills segment today. Thank you guys so much for watching. From Alex Miley, Caleb Abula, and myself, thank you guys so much. See you guys next time.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're going to take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Very right.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm Colin Ritchie. I'll be hosting our NFL segment for the afternoon. I'm joined by Sebastian and Nate, guys, thanks for joining us. Start with our Week 11 recap. Sebastian, Steelers, Ravens, an AFC North showdown that, at least for fans, went the way I was hoping it would.
Yes, sir. So basically, another big win for the Steelers again this week, as they just competed against the Ravens with a win of 18-16, especially without scoring a single touchdown throughout the whole game. Steelers really are now leading the AFC North with a record of 8-2, and definitely defense was really there the whole game. The big defensive game for both teams, especially for Patrick Queen, who took the game pretty personal after Ravens head coach last season did not want him back for the season. And like Coach Thomas said, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And it worked out. He was a big key player for the game. Another key player who definitely stood out for the game for me was Peyton Wilson, who had that sideline interception. That just was phenomenal. Just for the Steelers, that just changed the ball momentum, changed the game overall. And then Derrick Henry setting the tone with that first fumble on the first drive of the game for the Ravens, that definitely set the tone for the Steelers, giving them an advantage. And Justin Tucker, kicker, damn, just I don't know what's going on with him this season, but he's definitely not having the season he should be having. Definitely one of his worst seasons that I could definitely say he's had, especially with the 2 missed field goals that he had in the beginning of the game, which definitely could have led to a W for the Ravens if they made them.
You mentioned the records. The Ravens fall to 7-4, so a game and a half back on the Steelers, no longer winning their division. They've dropped 4 games this year. It's crazy because they have so much talent on that team. Nate, another divisional matchup we had this week, this time in the NFC North, was Packers and Bears that came right down to the wire. Walk us through what happened in that game.
Man, it was pretty much a lucky win for the Packers, man. You know, Jordan Love did come up with a clutch touchdown for him, but, you know, the Bears pretty much had that game. You know, they should have won the game. Caleb Williams got them in field goal range, and it was a big win for the Packers because at 7-3, it keeps them in pace for the playoff hunt because the Minnesota Vikings are still ahead of them in the division. So they're actually only third of the division, and they got the Washington Commanders right on their heels at the 7th seed right now in the NFC playoff. So they got to keep pace with the teams that's on the playoff hunt, and it was a big win for the Packers this weekend.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the record. You look at the Packers, they're 7-3, and you think, oh, you know, that's a good record to have through 11 weeks. And then you realize they're third in the division because the Lions are just that good, and the Vikings have found the success that they found this season. So those wins, especially in the division, are extremely important for Green Bay.
Absolutely.
On Sunday night, we had a battle of the 2020 QBs from that draft class, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, Bengals-Chargers, one of the games of the year so far. We saw the Bengals bangle this game by coming off to a slow start, and we almost saw the Chargers charger this game away because they gave up their huge lead that they had built. Justin Herbert was dealing in the first half through 20-plus yard touchdown passes to Will Dissly and Quentin Johnston. A J.K. Dobbins touchdown gave them a 24-6 lead at halftime, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals came out firing in the second half. Burrow threw 3 touchdowns, 2 to Jamar Chase, 1 to T. Higgins, but it was not enough thanks to the J.K. Dobbins 29-yard touchdown run to ice the game with just 26 seconds left. Burrow, another amazing stat line in a game that his team did not win, 356 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. There's not much more you can ask your quarterback to do anymore. The Bengals just can't find a way to win these games. They fall to 4-7 now with a lot of ground to make up in the wild card race. Meanwhile, the Chargers improved to 7-3, currently the top wild card seed, 2.5 games back on Kansas City for the AFC West, though, so they'll have their sights set on a wild card spot, but they're in a great position as of right now. Now we'll take a look at our Week 12 preview. Nate, the Cardinals and the Seahawks, another division battle. We've got some great games in these next couple of weeks between these division matchups. NFC West, Cardinals, Seahawks, what do you got for me?
We're going to learn a lot about these teams going forward for the rest of the season. I like this game, man, because I really like where the Cardinals are going, where they're headed. This is a big game for the NFC West division standings. So over the past 6 weeks, the Cardinals have actually been one of the best defensive teams in the NFL, and they've won 5 of their last 6, 4 in a row, only giving up 14 points a game during that 4-game winning streak. Seahawks, I know they had a big win last week against the 49ers, but they've been kind of up and down all year. I think the Cardinals are ascending. They're one of the best young teams in the league, and I think they're going to win this weekend to put some distance between them and the other teams in the NFC West.
Now, Sebastian, this is not a division matchup, but we do have a game on Monday night between two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, teams we already talked about, the Ravens and the Chargers. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, the only game of the week between two teams that are both above 500. It's going to be a good one.
Yes, sir. So this game is going to be a showdown between the Harbaugh brothers, Jim and John. Both teams are holding onto the wild card as they go into this game. The Chargers are 7-3 and have looked pretty well all season, while the 7-4 Ravens really haven't quite lived up to what they were really supposed to be at, but are still a pretty dangerous team to play. So basically, each team has different strengths going into this game. The Chargers pretty much have been tremendous against the run game this year, where they only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns against them. And on the other hand, you got the Ravens, who are arguably the best ground attack in the league. So you put these two teams going up against each other, you're going to have a dogfight. And it's going to be a battle, all right, but I have a funny feeling it's going to be an upset, and the Chargers might upset the Ravens this week.
That's a bold prediction. We'll see if it comes true on Monday night. Thank you for joining us for today's NFL segment. For Nate, Sebastian, and Colin, thank you for listening to Buffalo Sports Insider. We'll be back with our Buffalo Sabres segment after the break.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
And how's your serve coming along?
Not so good.
I think we should work on it this weekend.
Amy's birthday bash slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made.
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider with me, Thomas Bailey, and Colin Ritchie to talk about the Sabres, as they have had, since our last episode, they've played 2 games, and then they have 3 games coming up before our next episode. So we will go over those games first, as they beat the Blues on Thursday 4-3 in overtime, and then they lost to the Flyers 5-2 on Saturday. I'll take it to you, Thomas, for the Blues game where they won 4-3. Give me your thoughts on that game.
Really loved it from the Buffalo Sabres. Overcame a lot of adversity. Terrible second period. We were outshot. Was it 9-2 or something? We had 2 shots in the second period. It was very low. We also gave up 2 goals in the second period. Obviously didn't score on either of those shots. It was a really bad second period. But we overcame the adversity. We ended up winning this game 4-3 in overtime. Benson gets on the scoreboard. He gets that really ticky-tacky goalie interference that I don't really agree with. He got sandwiched in between 2 players. It's not on him, I don't think. But he does end up getting a goal before that, so it kind of evens out in a sense, right? Either way, though, this Buffalo Sabres team, they looked very good. They overcame the adversity, which is something that last year's team just couldn't seem to do. We win this game strictly off the fact that we're very smart and just decided to hold the puck behind the net after a late goalie interference call against Devin Levi. Really gave us a chance to just hold on to the puck and take it into overtime, at least secure the 1 point, and a 4-on-3 power play, which is infinitely better than 5-on-4. Just so much more ice to work with. And obviously, we know the outcome. Dahlin blasts home the game winner. Buffalo gets the job done against St. Louis. A big game for the Sabres to finally get back to that 500 mark at the time. Really good game from Buffalo. McLeod with a beautiful pass across to Tuck for a goal. On top of that, McLeod with a goal himself. Goal and an assist for him. Great game for the Buffalo Sabres, and they get it done.
Yeah, what a great win. But then we followed it up with the stinker in Philadelphia, where we were getting dominated for 2 periods before we kind of clawed our way back when it was too little too late. Colin, walk me through that game.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, you summarized it perfectly. The first two periods, the Sabres just didn't show up. They were down 4-0 after 40 minutes of hockey. Finally, in the third period, they were able to find the back of the net. Rasmus Dahlin scoring his 5th goal of the year on the power play. And Ryan McLeod, Thomas, who you mentioned with the goal and assists last game, scored a goal as well to make it 4-2. And then an empty netter from Philly gave us a 5-2 final. It was a difficult performance to watch for the Sabres after that overtime victory just one game ago, just a complete shift in momentum. The Flyers blocked 25 shots. So it's not like the Sabres weren't creating opportunities. They just couldn't get the pucks to the net. Devin Levi finished with 27 saves on 31 shots. There are certainly times where the defense is hanging them out to dry, but also times where you'd love a big save and it just isn't coming for Buffalo.
Yep. And then the Sabres take on the LA Kings in LA as they are on a little West Coast trip. Thomas, what are your predictions for that game?
I'm going to go ahead and give the Kings a 4-3 overtime win. We started by talking about a 4-3 overtime win over the St. Louis Blues. This time we lose to the LA Kings. The Kings are a lot better at home against the Buffalo Sabres than they are at the road against Buffalo. Just ask that 7-0 loss last year to the Sabres. They're coming off a 4-1 win against Detroit. They're looking to make it a second win in a row as well after the Saturday night game. Buffalo's coming off that 5-2 horrendous loss in Philadelphia. We're not playing that great on the road this year. Despite that, I think that we keep it close. It's going to be a really good game. David Riddick is in between the pipes for the Kings. As for us, we have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen starting this game. However, the Kings with a 10-6-3 record, they've looked phenomenal this year to start the season. I think they keep it rolling with an OT win against the Buffalo Sabres. 4-3 is my final score.
And then we take on the Anaheim Ducks in Anaheim. Colin, what are your predictions for that game?
Yeah, so the Ducks are an interesting team because they sit at 8-8-2. They're in the middle of the Western Conference standings. But then you take a look at some of their stats league-wide, and it's very curious to see how they actually got to 8 wins and 18 total points. They're 29th in goals for, 10th in goals against. They have a bad shooting percentage, a bad power play, and a bad penalty kill. They're bottom third in the league for all 3 of those measures. They're also 4th in the league in penalty minutes. So the Sabres can really capitalize on special teams because they're going to be able to draw penalties. They're going to have power play opportunities. Troy Terry leads the Ducks with 12 points, 6 goals, and 6 assists. So you have to make sure you're shutting him down offensively. And then goaltending has not been great for the Ducks, but their goaltenders have also faced a lot of shots. Lucas Dostal has started the most games for them. He has a save percentage of .924, which isn't horrible, but he's also giving up 2.69 goals against per game. So the Ducks are facing a lot of shots. They're getting a lot of saves, but eventually there's pucks that are going to find the back of the net. Sabres are banged up in the top 6, but I'll predict a 3-2 overtime victory in Anaheim.
Yep, and then we take on the Sharks after that. I think the Sabres kind of dominate this game. The Sharks are arguably probably the worst team in the league. They're not expected to be good. They're a very young team that's on basically the beginning of a rebuild. So I think the Sabres win that game 4-1. We should be healthy by then. Tage will be back. Hopefully Jordan Greenway will be back. And I really expect us to kind of steamroll through that team as we move in, as we do then take on the Minnesota Wild at home on Wednesday, and we will get into that in a later episode. We will be going to break now. After the break, we will talk about the upcoming fights and a little bit of basketball.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're gonna take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm your host for this segment, Nathan D. Palmer. I'm with my guys, Sebastian and Antonio. And we're going to be discussing the eventful fights that happened this weekend, the UFC and the Mike Tyson Netflix fight. And I'm interested in finding out which fight stood out to you over the weekend. First, we'll go to Antonio. Antonio, which fight stood out to you this weekend?
I gotta go with the John Jones fight. He showed once again why he's the best, if not one of the greatest fighters, pound for pound, all time. You know, he went in there. I think people had him as the favorite, but still he went out there and he dominated. Had that KO in round 3. It was vicious. 104 strikes out of 128. 80% of his shots were landing. And if you saw that first round, he got that takedown, and the rest of the round was just vicious elbows. I thought he was going to end it in the first, but, you know, it carried on from there. But then in the third, he hit him with that spinning back kick straight to the ribs. And I don't know if you saw that video, but that sounded like a shotgun. Yeah. I will fall, too. You couldn't pay me enough money to take that kick. But another dominant performance for him, showing why he's who he is, one of the baddest men on the planet.
What you think of the Trump dance?
That was something for sure.
Sebastian, what about you, bro? What fight stood out to you this weekend?
So the John Jones fight was definitely a fight that stood out to me, especially with it being a round 3 knockout. But most importantly, I think the best fight of the weekend for me was Katie Taylor defeating Amanda Serrano. The best fight of the night by far. But I just completely don't really agree with the outcome of this fight. Serrano did start stronger and did really well earlier, but eventually Katie Taylor really started to land the better punches, the cleaner shots. And although she was tired, she was a smarter boxer that came out the last few rounds. But the fact that Katie did win the match and Serrano did have 107 more punches than Taylor is just pretty absurd. We're definitely going to need this fight to be ran back for 100%, especially with Taylor not really having that many clean shots. The headbutts weren't clean.
Right.
And I think Serrano needs to have it run back for sure.
For me, man, it was Mike. You know, maybe I'm, living in nostalgia. I'm a little bit older, but, Mike was my guy growing up. And so I was just happy to see him get the bag. Jake Paul looked out. It was a very eventful fight. And so I think, for me personally, for nostalgia reasons, I'm going to go with Mike Tyson. And so moving on to the NBA in-season tournament, what games stood out to you so far, Antonio, about the NBA, the in-season tournament?
I thought good. You definitely had, I guess, the one you have to go to, Cavs, Celtics. Celtics were on that big win streak, got snapped. Celtics weren't playing any games. They came out there. They showed why, for a lot of people, they're still the best team out there in the entire league. They showed why they were the champions last season and why they're looking to go back-to-back.
I agree. What about you, Sebastian?
So a game that really stood out to my game, the Dallas Mavericks Pelicans, as the Mavericks completely just swept the Pelicans, giving them an advantage to having a winning record of 8-7 for the season so far. And then you got to think about this. Luka Doncic just came back from an injury, and he already is a key player who stood out, scoring 26 points, went 3 for 5 on his free throws, especially with him just freshly returning. And then you got Kyrie Irving, who's leading the team with a total of 7 assists, and then Quentin Grimes leading the team with a total of 8 rebounds. And then on top of that, a total of 6 defensive rebounds. So that game was definitely a game that stood out to me. It was just overall being played great by the Mavericks, and Pelicans definitely could use some defensive plays that can really help them, maybe even some key plays to help them score some buckets. So
yeah, I agree, man. Those are strong points. I definitely agree with Antonio about the Cavs and the Celtics game being the marquee game. Of course, Cavs going into an undefeated. I really thought Jason Tatum really put an early stamp on MVP's campaign this season with 33. I think he had 12 and 5 or something like that. So yeah, and that's gonna wrap up this week's episode of Buffalo Sports Insider. Be sure to check out our articles on the BSI website. We all contribute. My name is Nathan Dwayne Palmer. Again, one love, peace.
Yes, sir. I love that. So, one love.